friends and family of COVAL Fitness. Welcome to the Living Your Best Life podcast with COVAL Fitness. I am Mike Koval, the host, and I'm joined today by my man, Kelvin, who's taking a nap. Today, we get a lot of questions from clients about, the ins and outs of the programming at the gym, why they're doing certain exercises, because what we do is not traditional of what you would typically see at a gym. I mean, we do a lot of the things that you'll see at a typical gym, but we also do a lot of things that you won't. And there will be explanations for these exercises that we select for the client based on whatever their needs are. And they can be kind of confusing. So what I thought would be helpful today is to take one element of your programming and discuss it. Because it's something that I don't see a lot of trainers, a lot of gyms utilizing in their programming, and they should be, because it's so beneficial to the client. And what that is tempo, and the concept of tempo. So if you go on your program and you look, there'll be different columns at the top, and one of them will be tempo, and then you'll see three numbers listed below that, or you might see DYN, which would be dynamic, which we're just moving under control, basically. You might see EX. PVE, which means explosive, where we're moving as fast as we as fast as we possibly can. And so with these tempos, let's break it down like this. Let's take a look at what the numbers mean first, and then we're going to actually see what the benefit is of each of utilizing the tempos. So let's say that we have a split squat that we're executing, and we have a tempo of 5-0-1. Well, that first number, no matter whether or not the lowering phase is the first phase of the movement, so with a split squat, it will be. If you're doing a row, for example, it won't be. The pulling motion will be the first motion, so you're actually overcoming the resistance. So with a split squat being 5-0-1, and that first number meaning that's always lowering phase, we're going to take 5 seconds to lower ourselves down to the bottom position before we redirect ourselves back up to starting position. The middle number will be the hold, whether that is at the top or bottom of the movement, and that'll usually be specified in your notes, which is the furthest column on the right of your program. The third number is going to be what's called the overcoming phase of the movement, and that's where you're moving the resistance, whether it's just your body weight, a dumbbell, a barbell, medicine ball, whatever it might be. You're moving it at a rate which is specified on that third number. So you might see X, which would be explosive, which means you move as fast as you possibly can. You might see 1, which would be 1 second, 2 seconds, so on and so forth. And so what we can do with these tempos, there's multiple benefits to utilizing this method. I shouldn't even call it a method, because it's just basic, it's basic training science. And so with the tempos being utilized, that's going to be an excellent way to build strength. And so we'll kind of elaborate on that a little bit as well. So when we're building strength, you've got your central nervous system, which would be your brain and spinal column. Then within your central nervous system, you're going to have nerves that branch off from the spinal column and innervate muscle fibers, and these will be called motor neurons. Okay, and so these motor neurons, when we're using that split squat as an example, when we're lowering ourselves for 5 seconds, if we were to do that where we're just going down, up, down, up, down, up, we're not going to have to recruit as many motor units within each muscle fiber to execute that movement. So therefore, with not recruiting as much motor units to execute the movement, we're not going to be able to build as much strength. That was Kelvin hacking, sorry. So then the second part of that with building strength is we're trying to coach. We get really detailed with the coaching. So one of the most common cues that we give is this concept of tucking your rib cage, tuck your pelvis. And I'll just stand up and reiterate that real quick. So if I'm up and I'm doing my split squat and I decide that this is going to be my position, I'm highly exaggerating this arch, but you can see how much I'm arching through my low back as I hold this position. And then go through that motion of the split squat and execute it in that manner versus if I tuck my ribs. So I'm back to this position. I bring my ribs down and I tuck my pelvis and then get into my front leg and lower myself. That's going to be two different effects that we have with that particular movement. So we're trying to manage position, one, get position down. And then what you're going to feel when you change position is you're going to feel different pressure. So you're trying to get position and manage the internal pressures within your body and within your muscles as you control that through that specific movement. And so if we just let people just go down, up, or up, down, there's a time and place for that for sure. And we do have clients do that, but especially initially when they first start up, we have to learn how to be able to manage position, control internal pressures, and do so under time. So that shows that you own the movement and that you have control. And so therefore, going back to the whole idea of motor unit recruitment, and then managing position, managing internal pressure, that's going to be a huge benefit for your strength, and hence why we utilize temples for building strength. The second part of that is going to be body composition. Now, specifically more so for building lean muscle tissue. And when I say body composition, just so we're all on the same page, I'm talking about like decreasing your fat mass and at bare minimum maintaining your lean muscle tissue. Okay, or in some instances increasing and losing fat, which some people are fortunate enough to be able to do naturally. And but so with utilizing the temples and putting more stress on the muscles themselves, this can help promote muscle growth. And so that's another reason why we'll do it for body composition. And then from a fat loss perspective, we'll have certain hormones such as AMP, activated protein kinase, that will be activated and will help with mobilizing fat and uptaking glucose and storing it as glycogen, which makes your muscles more full, have a more toned appearance. And you can also, from a performance standpoint, it comes in handy when it's time to perform. And then the final thing is looking at progress and just progression in general. So it's a lot easier, from a progress standpoint. Often what we'll see is, like, with going back to that example of talking about how most of the time we'll see in most gyms, most coaches, it's just down, up, or up, down with no regard for tempo or position. What'll happen is as the weight goes up, the position will get more and more poor. And then eventually what happens is they're not going to be able to demonstrate or create force in the same way that they were when the weights were lighter, because they couldn't manage the position in the first place, and they were okay in that initial stage. And then as the loads got heavier, techniques started getting a little bit more sloppy, and they ran by the time that they're doing a heavy set of 3 of whatever exercise it might be. Let's say it's a back squat. They're no longer going up in weight. They're not feeling as strong. And perhaps they're even running into some aches and pains and maybe some injuries along the way, which hopefully they're not, but that does happen. When we focus on managing position and controlling that position and the pressures, like that allows us to make progress for a longer period of time. And also not having such a strong emphasis on pushing people to the max when it comes to loading them up. Because we're not weightlifters. This is for our health. This is for our fitness. Now, that's not to say that we don't want to get strong, because we definitely want to get strong. It gives us so many benefits in our lives, from just performing basic daily tasks to, more advanced things that, if you're playing recreational sports or whatever it might be, it can come in incredibly handy. Even we've had surgeons say that their endurance and their ability to operate improve as their strength goes up. So you can see all these benefits with strength, but I mean, there's different ways to build strength, and the weight, the load on the bar is not necessarily the best measure of what's actually happening. We need to look at seeing how that individual looks as they move that load, as they move the bar. And if it's not in a manner that, is good for their long-term health, and we do that repetitively over time, then it's not going to be a win for the client. And the final thing was progression. So especially now, it's been really interesting because there's a lot of workouts that you can do online. And I've seen it within some of the, the circles that I'm in. Some coaches talk about like, well, I don't know what to do. Like, I can't make these workouts hard. And it's, well, yeah, we can. We can just manipulate tempo and take some stuff that would normally, like a split squat, going back to that example, making it really, really difficult for people and giving them benefit at the same time. So, if you have a pretty sufficient levels of strength, let's say that you can, back squat, double your body weight. You can at least do two times your weight in a deadlift. Like, you're probably going to have, like, doing a split squat with just going down and up is probably not going to be much difficulty for you. And even if we had you do it 10 times, it may not be super strenuous and it may not produce much of a training effect. But if we understand tempo and understand that how we can manipulate it or influence it rather, and apply it to what we're doing, that can completely change the game for the client and how difficult they find it to be and actually how beneficial it is for them. So, for example, if I've got that split squat again, and rather than going down, up, or even 3 seconds on the way down and right back up, I can go 3 seconds on the way down and then take 3 seconds to come back up. And I can repeat that with no pausing over time. And I can make that exercise that normally isn't really that challenging, and I've just made it a whole new exercise just by influencing and changing the tempo. So the progressions that can be made, especially in a time like this when I would say most people don't have enough equipment at home, you can easily change the game just by manipulating your tempo with your body weight, with exercises that you could normally feel pretty confident in and would be relatively easy to you. So those are the big reasons why we use tempo. I'd be happy to go into more detail with other aspects of the training stuff that you guys do. And if you had more interest in learning more about it, I know it doesn't always, at the gym, it's not always the most ideal time when we're working with you and perhaps 2 to 3 other clients at the same time, and we're running you through a program to start talking about the deeper stuff and why it's there. So if you want to hear more about that, let me know. Otherwise, appreciate your time. This is a little bit longer than normal podcast, but hopefully you guys got a lot out of it. Say goodbye to Kelvin. He's same exact position as when he started. And you guys have an awesome day. See you soon.